In 1919, the world tried to legally mandate peace. To ensure German aggression was permanently contained after World War I, the victorious nations drafted the Treaty of Versailles. This diagram shows the weight of the treaty's war guilt clause, Article 231. It stripped Germany of its military power and dropped a $33 billion fine squarely on its shoulders. To pay that sum, the German government printed money so rapidly it devalued the currency. A single loaf of bread that cost 160 marks in 1922 skyrocketed to 200 billion marks just 1 year later. The treaty was supposed to keep Germany docile. Instead, it cratered the economy and left millions of people searching for any leader who promised a way out. Into that void stepped Adolf Hitler, a young politician who knew exactly how to manipulate a furious public with his speeches. He offered a dangerous explanation for their misery, blaming the country's international humiliation on the Jewish and socialist populations living inside Germany. Over the next decade, a well-funded propaganda machine capitalized on this resentment. By 1933, with 6 million Germans unemployed and starving, Hitler leveraged the desperation to take full control of the government. Once in power, he focused on building a racially pure German Reich. To sustain it, he argued his people needed Lebensraum, living space, which required seizing the land and resources of neighboring nations. By the mid-1930s, the economic cage built at Versailles had birthed a radicalized nation, mobilized and ready to test the boundaries of its international borders. The first major test came in 1935. Hitler openly violated international law by establishing an air force and beginning to rebuild a navy. The international response was passive. Many in Britain felt the original treaty had been too demanding, so they signed the Anglo-German Naval Agreement, effectively legitimizing Hitler's military expansion. 3 years later, Hitler turned to Austria. He marched into Vienna without firing a shot, securing a conquest achieved through pro-Nazi political infiltration and a massive propaganda campaign. In a bid to avoid another global conflict, British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain attempted a final diplomatic concession. He signed the Munich Agreement, handing over the Czechoslovakian region of the Sudetenland in exchange for Hitler's promise of peace. That promise didn't last a year. By March 1939, the German army rolled through the rest of Czechoslovakia, splitting the country into two. The strategy of appeasement failed. Giving the dictator land didn't contain him. It validated his aggression and accelerated his timeline. Looking toward Poland next, Hitler signed a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union, securing his eastern flank so he could safely invade from the west. On September 1, 1939, 1 million German troops crossed into Poland. This finally forced France and Britain to officially declare war. Yet a strange period known as the Phony War followed. Despite their declarations, neither Britain nor France provided actual military support while Poland was being overrun. The Polish army was unprepared for Hitler's revolutionary military doctrine, Blitzkrieg, or Lightning War, which relied on overwhelming force. While the Luftwaffe Air Force bombed from above, tank divisions rushed across the ground, moving so quickly that defense became impossible. This speed was chemically fueled. German soldiers were issued a drug called Pervitin, crystal meth, which allowed them to fight for days without sleep. Outdated no-it's-free tactics meant nothing against a war machine designed to finish national invasions in less than a week. France believed they had a physical containment strategy, the Maginot Line. It was a 450-kilometer fortification built specifically to stop a German advance. In May 1940, Hitler used a decoy at the wall while his main army pushed 40,000 vehicles through the Ardennes forest, a region believed impassable. They hooked behind Allied lines, trapping hundreds of thousands of British and French soldiers against the sea. France had built the most formidable defensive structure in human history, but a wall is useless if the enemy simply decides to go around it. That encirclement led to a desperate evacuation at Dunkirk. Military ships and private boats worked together to rescue 350,000 trapped soldiers. While the men were saved, their equipment was lost. France surrendered within weeks, and Mussolini's Italy formally joined the Axis powers. By July 1940, the regional tower structure was unrecognizable. From the Atlantic coast of France to the border of the Soviet Union, Hitler now controlled nearly every neighboring state. WW2 was the result of a decade of trading security for short-term peace. By the summer of 1940, those compromises had left Britain as the only remaining force in Western Europe capable of resisting the German Reich.